I'm feeling so alive, hearing the angelic sounds of our ancestors singing through the night for the SupraNova Body. Listen to the realms of beyond, sacred wisdom healing my mind. Chakras align when I listen to SupraNova Day. It's more than a podcast, it's a whole vibe. Expanding consciousness as you shift your mind. Tune into the SupraNova Body so you can raise your vibration. Don't be afraid to make changes and create a new you. It's more than a podcast, it's a whole vibe. Expanding consciousness as you shift your mind. SupraNova Body, a cosmic party. New way of life, it's a SupraNova Body.
Hello, thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of season 2 of SupraNova Body Podcast. I am your host, Simone Michelle, and today we're continuing our conversation on codependency because I missed some stuff and I want to hit it today. So here we go. So just to give you a brief recap, I don't need to do that because you just really go listen to the other podcast, but I will tell you what codependency is briefly. Codependency is when there is an imbalanced power dynamic where one person has adopted the savior complex and one person has adopted the victim complex. And they need each other in order to function in their cycle. And it can be very toxic and it can be deeply rooted in a lot of stuff. But essentially, it's an improper power dynamic. There's an improper power balance happening there, and it can lead to all kinds of things. Really unhealthy, toxic relationship dynamics that can lead to a lot of hurt and pain for both people. I think the main thing I want to iterate is that both people are suffering in this relationship. There isn't one person that suffers more or less. There may be a sense of someone walking away with more or someone walking away with less, but both people in the course of the relationship are losing something. Okay, so we went over some signs that you might be in a toxic relationship, but I just want to touch on a couple more that I missed. Okay, all right, so there is a lack of genuine, honest communication. This is so important. Okay, when I look at failed relationships that I have had, oh my gosh, our ability to communicate is the crux of whether our relationship was going to be a couple weeks or a lifetime. And none of them made it to the lifetime, okay? And that is mainly because of communication. It is vital and it is important. I will throw in a caveat: if you are neurodivergent, if you have a spicy brain, specifically autistic, honesty may be really important to you, and you may not understand why people lie, or how to. So that may be really important. And so you may communicate in a very harsh, direct way, or you may communicate in a way where you're just very honest, and people may not appreciate that. But anyway, you have to be able to communicate with someone that can communicate with you and have open, honest communication. If your partner cannot tell you the truth, if they lie and hide everything, if you are afraid to tell your partner the truth, if you lie and hide everything, chances are you're trying to protect your relationship. You're trying to protect that person, and you're trying to avoid there being a negative reaction. That can also stem from fear of abandonment, being afraid that someone is going to leave you if you're honest and show who you really are. You also could need approval from your partner, okay? You really want them to appreciate you. You want them to accept you. You want them to see you as this perfect person. You want them to not see anything that would make them want to run for the hills, But we can't control this, We can't control how someone sees you. You can only show up as your best self, right? And be your honest, authentic self. Because at the end of the day, everything that is not you is going to melt away, okay? When I go to sleep, all of this makeup comes off my face, all right? But at the end of the day, it is what it is. That's the end of the day. That's my most authentic self, right? Not everybody gets to see us in our most vulnerable state, but our partners should be, if anyone, the person to see that and experience our self without the makeup, without the masks, without the superficial personalities. Okay. So I also touched on self-care and our ability to do it, but in toxic relationships like codependency, the other partner may view self-care as selfishness, and anything that looks like boundary setting as being someone that's alienating the relationship, or someone that is not committed to the relationship, or someone that is not willing to do what it takes to stay in the relationship. Someone that is overly jealous if you go to the gym, or if you go out, you start doing things, or you change your habits, or you start wearing cologne or perfume, and your partner's like, what are you doing? All of these things are to build you up and make you feel good, and they are like, no, you can't do that. Why? These are healthy things for me to just feel moderately good about myself. Or these are things that are just so your partner can feel confident, right? That's essentially what attracted you to them and them to you. These are things that have to remain in place. But in codependent relationships, self-care can be viewed as selfish and not acceptable in the relationship. All right. And again, the safer complex, because it's there, it's there in lives, and we can sometimes do that. I say we because I find myself trying to take things off my plate more now than I ever did before, because I am nobody's Jesus, okay? I am nobody's Buddha, Allah. I am nobody's savior. I am a person, right? And I can only do so much, and the rest is in the hands of the divine. God is in full control. And sometimes when we're in codependent relationships, we think that we have to save them from themselves. So a major part of codependent relationships is the imbalanced power dynamic. So that person could be addicted to drugs, could be addicted to just immature thinking and mindsets, being a victim, whatever the case may be, whatever is happening there, one person wants to save the other person from themselves. And the thing about it is both partners can do this. The person that is on drugs could want to save that person because they could be on drugs too. Both people could be saving each other and wanting to help each other get better or be better. Or if I'm not here, then what are they going to do? They can't live without me. I can't live without them. The concept that there is no room for the divine, no room for God, no room for Jesus, Allah, whoever you believe in, to step in and do their job. Or if you believe in your higher self being in control, the higher self has to have room to move in that person's life, outside of you and what you can provide for that person or give to that person. Story time. I had a friend, and they had this vision, this dream that they wanted to be able to provide financially for everybody that they loved, right? They wanted to have this big compound, and they wanted everybody to have a house on that compound. And they really wanted this to happen. They really wanted to be able to make blessings happen for people and miracles happen for people and be able to just be a blessing. However, that friend, you would not be leaving that compound, okay? You would be stuck there to do what that person wanted as an exchange for their blessing, right? Essentially, that would have created a very toxic dynamic. And a lot of people live that way. Parents, parents can do that. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But, people can do that for many reasons. But just things to be aware of. So also having trouble saying no is a big, big thing. If you're looking at your relationships or your friendships, and if you say no, they do a temper tantrum, or if you say, I'm sorry, I just can't do that right now, it's a big problem, that is a very telltale sign that this is not doing what it's supposed to do. It's not giving what it's supposed to give. It's not going to be leading to a positive place. We should all be able to voice when our capacity is no more. I explained to my daughter the difference between being nice and being kind. We all want to be kind people, but we don't want to be nice, I could be nice sometimes, but nice is never considering myself. When I am kind to myself, I consider what my capacity is. And if I can do it, or if I just can't right now. When I was younger, I was programmed to be really nice. And then I would go home and I would be really drained and tired because I never considered my capacity and what would be fair to me as well. Two things can be true at the same time. I can do this for me and have the capacity to do it for you. And if I can't, then I'm not doing it. Again, two things can be true at the same time. I can both love you and not have the capacity. I'm not going to do it. And that's okay. I think that it can be hard sometimes to tell people no, but when you learn how to do it and say, I just don't have the capacity, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, I don't have the desire, I don't want to. How someone receives that and their response is none of your business. And if they cannot handle it in a way where you feel safe to say no again tomorrow, then it's okay for them not to be in your life at that time. Or it's okay for them not to be in your life at that capacity in that way, where they do not respect you being kind to you if it is not also being nice to them. Yes, so a relationship where this appears will lead to issues in boundary setting. And when you recognize that your partner may not have the capacity or the tools to set boundaries, it's important to be aware and say, hey, I noticed when I do this, you don't like this. Is this a boundary for you? Because I don't want to violate that. It's important. If you may be a little more emotionally mature than your partner, or understand boundaries or psychology or therapy or whatever, spiritual awareness, that you don't use that as a way to manipulate that person so that you're the only person with boundaries and you're stepping all over theirs, even though you're aware that they exist. Transparent moment. I had a relationship where I did observe that they didn't have any boundaries. And it was really hard in getting them to understand and respect that I did. Like, oh no, we're not going to do that because this is a boundary for me. And this is a core value for me. And just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's not for me. And then when I learned that it was for them, they just didn't respect boundaries, it became very difficult in order to pursue a healthy, continued relationship. Which is unfortunate because what you learn is that people with no boundaries have the biggest hearts, okay? They have the best intentions. They're great to be around, except when they start violating your boundaries because you got some, So, anyway, moving right along. Okay, so the impact of codependency. So this is where we were going to start off today, but because I forgot stuff, we're not. So we're just going to continue into that now. What can it look like in the long term? It could look like the giver becomes lost in who they are. They no longer have a sense of self. They no longer have a concept or idea of who they are anymore. It has been so wrapped up in who they were for that person. That's it. That's all. That's all that they know how to do is be the giver to that person. And both people can be givers. That's the crazy part about codependency. These roles are not permanent. One person can be doing the other, or one person can be not. It's not fixed. It's definitely fluid. The person that is giving can become resentful, full of resentment, emotionally exhausted, burnt out. Burnout is a real thing. Like, it is actually a real thing. A lot of people that are burnt out are laying in bed scrolling right now. They're scrolling TikTok. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. They're doing everything but what they need to do. They have a pile of clothes in the corner and they're not going to touch it because they are done. Their energy is done, and it takes time to repair from that. The next thing that could be happening is neglect of personal needs and goals. So again, self-care. You're not doing that. You have no goals. You wanted to be a dentist when you met them, and you decided, I don't have the energy. You wanted to be a lawyer when you met them, and maybe one day. You had all these goals and ambitions. They had all these goals and ambitions, dreams, goals, focus, and somebody's dreams took a backseat. So now they're struggling to get ahead. There's a piece of hair, and it's got to go. I've been trying to get this off my face, Lord. Anyway, okay. So they where was I at? They could have goals or desires, and then because you guys could both be givers, this is what it could look like. It could look like you both giving up goals to assume another goal that makes most sense in the time, or one person gives up their goals and sacrifices to help the other with their goals, and then the person that sacrificed is now resentful, or you try to help each other with goals. So one person could be helping another with their goal and focusing on their own, and the other person could be helping that person and working on their own. And both people are exhausted because there's an improper exchange of energy going out into each other and their own, instead of being able to say, like, I'm going to focus on mine this week. We'll focus on yours next week. You focus on mine with me the following week. Like, instead of creating a balance that really works, everybody's trying to, like, people please the heck out of the relationship. All right. And what does that do? Yeah. That. It messes things up. It just makes it so that you stop wanting to come home. You stop wanting to leave home. You stop wanting to interact with other people because you don't want people to see what's happening. Friends are like, why are you doing that, girl? Friends are like, boy, like, why are you doing all that for her? Or him or whoever. You start hiding. You start isolating because you don't want people to see that this is very unhealthy. You can sense that it's toxic. You can see the drain, and you know that the moment you get around people that love you and care about you, they're going to be like, yeah, no. No, like, this is not working the way that it is. Yeah. Okay, so the taker in the situation can also be hindered. Their mental growth, their maturity, their sense of independence, their ability to explore and understand themselves better all becomes hindered. They no longer can identify who they are and what their own goals are or what they should be doing. They don't have that independence to go forward and figure stuff out. If they are dependent upon drugs, they don't have the desire to quit because everything is handed to them. They have someone that's paying for their fix. They have someone that is providing and making excuses and coddling them. They don't have the ability to stand forward on their own and say, this is what I'm going to do for my life. Because the giver has a role that they really enjoy feeling. And the taker has a role that they really enjoy feeling too. So why change it? Why change it? Okay. So, yeah. As I'm talking, I just see, I can see my own relationships, and I can see how even as a parent, I have done some of these things and how it has not helped my kids. And I can see now, since I've transitioned out of codependency, to appreciate independence in a way that is healthy as well. I could see the growth and I could see the change, and I could see how there's confidence in making decisions and things. An example would be my daughter she has her own business, and I was encouraging her to make a commercial. And in the commercial, I had no input. I just didn't make a commercial. She asked me all these questions about what it should be and what this is and what that is. And I said, I don't know. You have a wonderful brain in music. Now, when I tell you, this little girl came up with an amazing commercial all by herself, with her own research, with her own ideas, her own concepts, her own screen board. Like, everything is her brain and her idea. And I remember a time where I would have done everything for her and been like, this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to do it. Do it. And what would that have done for her? What would that have done for her self-esteem, her confidence in herself? Nothing. It would have done nothing at all, but it would have been easy for me. It would have been easy for me to do that, but she would have learned nothing. And in relationships, I have been that person. Oh, you don't know how to fill out the application? I'll do it for you. Oh, you don't know how to do your resume? I'll do it for you. You don't know how to do, and then I'm stuck 7 years later still doing it for you. And that you haven't learned anything from me. I haven't learned anything from you. I haven't learned how to teach. You haven't learned how to receive. You haven't learned how to teach me, and I haven't learned how to receive from you. Yes, I digress. Okay, so codependency is something that I think in today's society we confuse for narcissistic relationships, and we miss that in codependent relationships we both have a role and we both have areas to improve. And if we believe that the other person is a narcissist, we free ourselves from having to change anything. They're the problem, they're the issue, and it was all them, and they manipulated me and confused me into this, and that was what it was. When in reality, that's not the case. In most relationships that appear to be narcissistic, there are two people that are playing their position because it served them in some way. It fed their ego in some way. And if we're honest, really honest with ourselves, which is hard to do because who wants to be wrong? We'll realize or recognize that we all have a role, and sometimes we're playing both sides of the fence. And if we can address it in a healthy way, we can save relationships that were doomed. We can change the way that we see things and respect self-care as the unselfish thing that it is, and allow people to evolve within our relationships and dynamics to change. Yeah. So, if you have finished both episodes of the codependency in relationship dynamics, and you have more questions, feel free to hit me up. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all those different places, and I can definitely help you in a professional manner. You can visit my website at SupraNovaBody.com and schedule a consultation, and we can talk further. And I can definitely help you figure out what's going on in your mind, and I can walk beside you and collaborate with you on a plan to reclaim your independence in a positive, healthy way, and possibly salvage a relationship that is important to you that you would like to repair. Again, I want to thank you for taking time out to sit here and listen to me, and I appreciate you for doing so. I hope that you continue to have a wonderful, amazing day or night or weekend or whatever you do. I don't know where you're at when you hear this, but yes, much love, and have a wonderful day or night or whatever. You know what I'm saying.